Warrior and monk basically means the duality of life. If you go to see, why do we call it the duality? Because with love there will be hate, with light there will be dark.
Shaolin, if you're a warrior monk, are you supposed to renounce the world, take vows of celibacy and not get married and stuff like that? Is that how it is?
Warrior monk is what I became. I had to take certain vows and oaths, in which obviously renunciation was one of the main things, where celibacy was again the second thing. I call it like my family gave me birth and the temple gave me rebirth. When my parents came to visit me in the 6th or 7th month when I was in China after my leg got fixed, they were like in tears crying that हमारा बच्चा टकला हो गया है, living as a monk, sadhu zindagi, all of that happened. I was like, Mom, Dad, please relax. This is what my life path is. I am very plateaued in life.
Plateau.
I'm very plateaued in life.
You're very young and you feel
I feel I'm very plateaued because I just feel like a mountain. Like I just feel like, I don't get esteemed. A true warrior, a true ninja is somebody who endures. And it's about not enduring pain, it's about enduring being consistent.
When a person describes himself as a monk, typically the image of the Dalai Lama pops into one's mind with a clean-shaven head, robes, and a serene and austere demeanor. One doesn't expect them to be young and athletic like our guest on this episode of Buzz by the Bay, who is the first Indian to be adopted as a Shaolin Warrior Monk by the legendary Shaolin Temple in China's Henan province. To discuss the spiritual element of martial arts and how compassion can coexist with a warrior mindset, we have with us in the studio Hurssh Verma. Welcome, Hurssh.
Namaste, thank you.
Namaste. Welcome. How should I address you? Shifu? That's master, right?
Shifu means master, but my students call me Shifu.
Okay.
And but Hurssh is fine.
Hurssh is fine.
Yeah.
All right. Shifu has a nice ring to it, though.
Yeah.
So yours is a very interesting and fascinating story, and I know you've given many interviews before, but I'd like to focus a little bit on the spiritual aspect of martial arts, because I don't think people make that connection very often, and of course, about the work that you're currently doing. So first off, warrior monk almost seems paradoxical, a warrior and a monk together when you first think of it. But there are other ways to interpret it. How is having a warrior mentality compatible with being a monk?
Wow, nice. So I get this question a lot by a lot of people. It puts people into a lot of confusion. But before I begin with this, firstly, thank you for having me over here. Thanks to Free Press Journal, thanks to you and your show and your team over here to have me over. And I'm glad that this platform, I can share. So coming back to the answer for the question that you asked. So warrior and monk basically means the duality of life. If you go to see, why do we call it the duality? Because with love there will be hate, with light there will be dark. Where there is positivity comes also negativity, which is very normal for us to comprehend and understand. So hence, warrior monk cultivates the warrior within them. So one of my Shifus, he told me about this really nice quote that he told me that the rage of a monk and the calmness of a warrior.
Rage of a monk and calmness of a warrior. Yeah.
So he told me to focus on this. How would a monk be so going to an extreme level of understanding whether he can get rage or not?
Okay.
And how do you balance it in the yin and yang philosophy?
Wow, that's pretty deep.
Yeah, so I don't want to confuse anyone, but duality of life, warrior and monk is basically cultivating the yin and yang of your body and your mind together.
Yin and yang of your body and mind. So kind of like being two sides of the same coin.
The same coin, yes.
Similar coin. But so when you say rage of a monk,
yeah.
See, I can understand a warrior having to be calm, okay? Because you need razor sharp focus, you need a steady mind.
Right.
When you're fighting a war. You can't get frazzled. But rage of a monk?
So it's a very trick one, but rage doesn't literally mean that the definition of the term rage. Rage is more about how concentrated a monk can be. A monk needs to be like a mountain. Mountain that has a strong base, which cannot move. So the rage is in stillness. So how you continue and carry through consistency with stillness. That's the rage we speak about.
Well, when you say a warrior mentality or a warrior mindset, what does that mean?
Warrior mindset is the act of every minute what you do or every day what you do. It is being very routine, very structured, like we say discipline.
Okay.
For example, we use the term Zen.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many beautiful books that are written, which are needed, which are also not needed, I feel.
Oh,
So
really?
many,
Okay.
I read so many books. But Zen literally means that Zen is doing one thing at a time and you enjoy doing that one thing.
Okay.
That's what Zen literally means. So warrior mindset comes from cultivating the fact that you reach the mindset of being Zen.
Okay, so that focus on doing one thing at a time,
yes.
like complete absorption.
Complete absorption, completely sharanagati, how we say in Sanskrit, like complete total surrender. So warrior mindset obviously comes from the practice of it in the mindset form. The physical form is the the activity, the body that we do, and the main instrument tool is the breath in the warrior mindset.
Okay.
Yes, this is the main crux of everything that Shaolin warrior monks get cultivation of is breath.
Breath. So would you equate that to like prana in
Yes.
yoga? But though prana is more vital energy,
Right.
like not just breath. So that's a very important part,
Yes.
that breath work.
Right. So in Sanskrit we say prana, pran shakti. In Chinese we say chi.
Chi, right.
That's the
of
vital
course.
force that we call, and it's stored in right under our belly button, right below our nabi, and that place is called dantian. In Chinese we call it dantian.
Dantian.
Yeah. So that is where you start your cultivation of yourself, because through awareness of breath comes awareness of self. So if you see, everything that we do in life is from the breath angle, whether it's your emotions, whether it's your communication, whether it's your listening, absorbing. So hence warrior mindset and Shaolin warrior monks' strongest instrument is that they focus on their breath. Through breath they do everything else.
Okay, so for a person like me who doesn't know much about Shaolin, it sounds very similar to the philosophy of yoga, where your pran shakti is everything, right? And the reason you do asanas, you do pranayam is to control the flow of prana in your body, so that to create some sense of harmony, right? To balance the two sides,
Right.
which the Ida and the Pingla, you say yin and yang, but here you say Ida
and Pingla, yes.
and then you have, of course, the Sushumna
Sushumna
Nadi in the
Nadi.
middle.
Now, why is there so much correlation to the yoga? Because this whole Shaolin culture comes from India.
Okay.
When I went to China, I didn't know about it myself.
Right.
So I got to know when I reached there that a monk from south of India, Bodhi Dharma, traveled to China and spread the practice of yoga, Ayurveda,
Right.
Kalaripayattu. And then his master Mahakassapa was a direct disciple of Gautam Buddha.
Oh.
So he
Okay.
spread from our rooted culture that we had back then. We still have it. The richness that was there, it was given over there, and then obviously the people in China, the monks there, they made it and glorified it and made it so big.
Right.
And now it's a world cultural heritage system, and Shaolin is really looked upon.
Yeah.
In a very respectful manner, where love and compassion is like the most basic elements and tools of of a Shaolin monk.
Love and compassion.
Love and compassion.
So I definitely want to talk about that, more in detail. And like I said, Bodhi Dharma, he was the 28th patriarch of Mahayana Buddhism.
Mahayana Buddhism.
And then he traveled and he meditated in a cave at the Wuru Peak.
Guru Peak.
Right. And then initiated the Chinese Chan tradition of the Shaolin Temple. Is that what it's called?
That's
the Chan tradition.
Chan Buddhism. If you translate it in the modern term, it's called Zen Buddhism.
So just before getting on to your journey again, drawing this parallel of warrior monk, I think like the equivalent of that in India would be like our Naga sadhus, would you say? Quite similar because they're also monks, sadhus.
Yeah, they're sadhus. Of
But
course.
Nagas are the warrior sadhus belonging to the akharas, and they actually help defend, us Sanatan Dharma from colonialism, from the Mughal invaders.
Oppression of the community as a
Yeah.
whole, of course.
Again, they're sadhus, but they're also warriors. Would you say
Warriors.
there's some sort
Of course, yeah,
parallel?
definitely. There is definitely parallel. It all comes from the Indian cultural system, or whether it's the spiritual system or the religious system or the Sanatan Dharma, it all stems from there. Sanatan Dharma is the root.
Yeah.
And then how obviously Buddha is the ninth avatar of, Sri Vishnu. But like you said, comparison of a warrior monk is equivalent to a Naga sadhu for sure, because they are sadhus who do so much of tap,
Yeah.
and they are, protectors of the community from oppression, of, reinstilling certain things that are lost. For example, back then when, Buddhism was like at such a high, and even before that, Adi Shankaracharya, what he's done for our community, I mean, like, hats off to him. Like, Sanatan Dharma was mainly restored because of, his act and his way of, getting everything, back to the parallels of the roots of what Sanatan Dharma is.
Yes.
Since last 1.5 year, I've been studying Shaivism and Sanatan Dharma philosophy. It's completely taken a different track. I'm still studying, and I want to keep on studying, and it's very interesting how my Shaolin journey has got me into our roots now, and I'm getting more information about extracting what the nectar of the substance of, the knowledge and the history, the philosophy is, because I've done my master's in Buddhist philosophy while I was in China. So there is so much of things that I think I have missed about our culture. Now I'm like completely about like just going about the Indian culture, and I'm glad I've come back to my roots, because everybody comes back home, comes back to their roots eventually.
You've come back home to your roots, and interesting that you had to go to China to come back to your roots.
Exactly.
Quite fascinating. A Shaolin, if you're a warrior monk, are you supposed to like renounce the world, take vows of celibacy, and not get married and stuff like that? Is that how it is?
Of course. As monks, you have to. We have basic 5 precepts that we take, basic 5 oaths and vows. So let me just tell you, there are warrior monks and there are scholar monks in our Shaolin Temple. Warrior monks are the juniors. They are more pertaining to the physical practice, the kung fu of it, the breath work, the philosophy, study, a lot of experience needs to be done. After reaching to a certain stage through experience and through number of years of whatever practice has happened, then you become eligible to become a scholar monk. Scholar monks basically duties that are given by the venerable, the abbot of the temple, Sri Yongshin Fasher. He assigns certain scholar monks duties inside the temple with certain structures, with certain classes, certain things that is about spreading the culture. Anything that's related to the Shaolin, he assigns people. But warrior monk is what I became. I had to take certain vows and oaths, in which obviously renunciation was one of the main things, where celibacy was again the second thing. Not eating non-veg, not having family. These are all like very basic things for any sadhu or any monk that they do. But yeah, it happened very organically. I never really thought about like it's going to create an impact in my life, or it's going to make me crave any or have any desires.
What did your family think of all this? Your parents and
siblings?
That
was a very big battle at home when they heard their 21-year-old son is going to become a
You're very
monk.
young,
Yeah, so for them it was a shocker, because they were thinking about like join the family business, study more, do your masters, be in the city, make money, have a livelihood, have a family, like how everyone wants good for their children. I personally feel like my path was always destined to be unconventional, because I was always craving and I was never satisfied with what I think I was not satisfied with what I had already cultivated, I think, as a football player. But that big gap, that hole that came because of the injury, it really got me to a very low point, whether you call it, I don't want to use the term depression so loosely. I feel it's very loosely used. I think and I wouldn't say depression, but it got me to a frustration point mentally, where I was really down, and that was at my low confidence level. Physically, obviously, I was crippled, so I couldn't do certain things. And spiritually, I didn't know much spirituality then, because everything that we saw at home was mom, dad doing puja, aarti, doing Ganesh Ji's naam jap, Shivji Mata's naam jap, everything that goes on in our Hindu practice. But I feel like I had to come to the low to find myself.
Like they say, rock bottom is the foundation on which you can rebuild your life. Sometimes you have to hit that rock bottom to build that
it is very important.
Foundation.
I call it like my family gave me birth and the temple gave me rebirth.
Temple gave you rebirth.
Yeah.
No, but you're still a warrior monk. Means those vows that you've taken still.
Shaolin Warriors, yeah. Certain vows pertain to me, certain don't, because I mean my hair is grown, I'm wearing normal clothes.
Yeah.
And I'm in a city, but my mission and my value systems are very much similar to what it was back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Wow. So you've spoken a lot about your story in the past. I've seen about how, and you just mentioned your injury, football player, and that led you to China. So which were the years that you were there? And did you just stumble upon Shaolin, or you always wanted to go there?
So I had my surgery in 2014 May, and from May until 4 months from there, I was 4 to 5 months I was bedridden. And then end of May 2014 is when I did some research and I came across Chinese medicine. And through that, reaching out to them after 2-3 weeks of back and forth, then I went to China end of 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, by October I went to China.
And you spent 5 years there.
5 years, yes.
You came back before COVID. Or just as COVID
So
hit?
after being in China for 5.5 years, I went to Los Angeles. I got an opportunity to train with the Jackie Chan stunt team members, the Marshall Club stunt team members. They're very well known in the Hollywood stunt community.
Yeah, of course.
And I took it up because I thought I mean, that was a different journey because towards my last few months in the temple, I became a professional archer. So Shaolin also added the fourth philosophy. So let me just tell you what the three philosophies are.
It's gonna come to
So first philosophy, the first pillar is Zen Buddhism. Second is Kung Fu, martial arts. And third is medicine. Fourth is Zen archery.
Yeah.
So out of 150 warrior monks, we 8 warrior monks were sent to Vanvas to cultivate the art of archery. And it's called Zen archery, Chan Gong in Chinese we say, and in modern term we call it Zen archery.
Okay, so you were sent on Vanvas?
For 6 months, yeah.
Where?
To south of China.
Which part, if I may ask?
Somewhere outskirts of Guangzhou.
Okay, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, so outskirts of Guangzhou, we had our academy over there, and that's where we train. And while I was away from the monastery, we were living in this academy, which is part modern, part traditional. The teachers were very traditional. The teachers' philosophy, teaching style was very traditional. Of course, the setup and everything felt new because we came from like a simple monastery. So seeing something like a nice little bit of beautification in the setup was like, oh wow, this is like wow, amazing. It's so like glorified. But that's where I really started looking into Mahabharata. I started reading the scriptures, and I started questioning myself. Why am I getting to learn all of this? Like, what's coming onto me? What is happening? Why all these opportunities are coming to me? Through my practice, I asked my Shifu. My Shifu said, go more deep within, ask yourself, talk to yourself, have a dialogue with yourself, because you're the only one who can answer this and find your purpose.
Yeah.
And through doing that, I found my purpose, and I was planning to go somewhere else to learn. I wanted to learn more different styles, but then this Jackie Chan with Marshall Club team opportunity came with Andy and Brian and Daniel, and then I went to LA. And 2 years I was there, and then I moved just during 2021. 2020, 2021, I moved back to India.
Back to India in 2021. So do you teach, I know you have an institute here, which is official Shaolin
Temple Cultural Center of India.
Temple Cultural Center of India. So you teach Zen archery there?
Yes, so I have a team over here. My school is based in Mumbai and Juhu. And I've trained these team people personally myself. They've done a teacher training program with me. And these are the 4 things that we teach. We teach kids, we teach adults. So there is no age gap kind of a thing, and it's open to everyone. And in fact, we've just rebranded and we're calling it Core Club. Core Club by the Shaolin Temple, India. And
why Core Club?
Core Club because I personally feel like this is about people focusing on their internal and external core, and it's more relatable to today's the Gen X, Gen Z people. And rather than letting people know that it's a very traditional thing, which it's not, but it has modern science to it. So it's like Shaolin wisdom and philosophy with Indian culture meeting modern science, because modern science teaches you neuroplasticity, epigenetics, placebo effect, and this is exactly what happens in warrior mindset through conscious practice and through conscious breathwork.
So neuroplasticity, as in like changing the neural pathways.
Retuning and rewiring your brains.
Which again brings me back to what yoga also teaches in what you call Pratipaksh Bhavana. It's what Maharishi Patanjali, that is essentially Pratipaksh Bhavana, adopting the opposite emotion or thought, is essentially what they call neuroplasticity just now.
Correct.
So it's
all interconnected.
It's all interconnected.
It's like I said, for us, the main mission is to restore the lost Indian culture.
So going back again to your Shaolin years, why did they decide to accept you when you're the first Indian who's a Shaolin Warrior Monk? So you obviously, I mean, they must have liked you a lot, or you must have been very good at your training and all that stuff.
I don't know about training, but I mean, they really liked me a lot because I think I was so openly surrendered. I think the first way to be accepted is to surrender yourself. Like how we do bhakti, we do devotion with that bhav whenever you're praying to any deity that anybody prays to. Like for me, my Ishtadev is Shivji and Mata Parvati. So you give that kind of samarpan in puri tarah samarpan, pura sharanagati, total surrender. So I did that to them in live, And they were like, yeah, this guy is just like, doesn't speak Chinese. He came with a broken leg. And he's just always so curious. And I think my curiosity really intrigued them. And then my progress, in Chinese we say Jingbu. No, they say neither Jingbu Hang Kuai. Like your progress was so fast that you were so curious. Every day you were so engrossed in wanting to learn, whether it's a language, whether I used to go to any of the kung fu schools which were around the temple also, just go there, sit there, train with the people over there, go and talk to them. I used to take my phone, I used to be like, can you speak in the phone, I don't understand, like this is what I... So it was just like, that bhook and pyas of wanting to just, be amongst them. And that's why they accepted me. And obviously my kung fu became a little better. And they saw me as an asset that, his interest is there and he speaks language. He's not just coming like to learn kung fu, because majority of the people come to learn kung fu.
Yeah, kung fu.
Kung fu is the prime, but no, for me, it was I want to learn this whole cultural system.
You see all these like gravity defying like kung fu moves and all when you watch Shaolin videos and these movies and Bruce Lee films and Jackie Chan and all. So can you do all that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've trained to a certain level, and I put in many years of blood, sweat, hard work, and hours of training. And I think training in general for us warrior monks is equivalent to eating food and brushing our teeth. Because if we don't do that, we don't feel good. Like, if you're not eating food, then you'll get cranky or get hangry.
Yeah.
So for us, it's also very much like that. It's a lifestyle, no?
I suppose the studio is too small for you to show us some of those moves, but we'll watch some of your videos.
Yes.
So again, Shaolin philosophy. There's a lot of emphasis on a compassion-based approach.
Right.
So why this emphasis? I mean, it's good to have an emphasis on compassion. If you can tell us a little more about this.
So, like I mentioned, two core elements that defines a Shaolin warrior, disciple, or a monk is empathy and compassion. In Chinese, we call compassion as Sebe. Yeah, Sebe, compassion. Why? Because every act you do it out of selflessness.
Okay.
So there is selflessness and selfishness. Obviously, we all know that. But anything that we do, you always keep the opposite person or the opposite environment first.
Okay.
The purpose to serve is not to get the results or the fruit of the desired thing that we need. Like even in Gita it's written that Karma Yoga. Yeah. So same way compassion comes from practice, because we all are right now in the present time we're all Karma Yogis, right? So whatever act we do, we always do it from the point of being selfless, and you do it without expecting any result or desire. You do it because you wish to do it. So you in your routine, if you start showing compassion to yourself with your acts, then you can show compassion into others. So that's what Shaolin warriors, the duality also comes in place right now, where you have resources, you don't have resources. But how do you still be like a mountain, still like a mountain? Shaolin warriors live in very limited resources.
Okay,
very limited
like
resources.
Austere type of life.
Yeah, because they're practicing chastity, they're practicing minimalism, or just the lifestyle is only just like that, very simple, like wearing, we just hardly have like 3 or 4 robes that we wear, which goes on for months. And basic food, boiled and steamed food, rice, noodles, vegetables, pure vegetarian place, and a very simple lifestyle.
So again, that's surprising that it's pure vegetarian in China. I mean, people would get surprised,
yeah, but
right?
in the temple, it's a Buddhist temple, so it's pure vegetarian place.
But don't some Buddhist monks eat non-veg?
Not in like the Shaolin Temple, mein to no. But I did read a few interviews that came where monks in monasteries in Thailand were eating meat, and they were caught or something happened.
Oh, okay.
But none of the Buddhist temples in China, they serve meat. They're pure vegetarian.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's good. But I mean, again, vegetarian in China. So what was your main source of nutrition? I'm sure a lot of people ask you.
Yeah,
this.
people ask me, how did you get your proteins?
Proteins.
Like, I was like, bro, I was not having protein powder. But no, main source of proteins and just general nutrition. So nutrition has a very different angle. There are so many Instagram viral videos about nutrition. The main thing that really matters is the air you breathe and the water you drink.
Okay.
This is the first element of good nutrition. Once you're in that good environment of air and water, then obviously comes the food. So there is something called as raw food. In Chinese we call it liang sai, that's the cold vegetables. And there is something called as rir sai, which are the cooked vegetables. So we do a balance of both. And we eat raw vegetables like basic sweet potatoes. They are boiled, obviously they're cooked. So broccoli, raw vegetables like broccoli is there. Then there is cabbages, different types of cabbages.
The
cabbages. Mushrooms are there. There are just so many variety of vegetables
yeah,
over
of
there.
course.
And potatoes are amazing, so tasty.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
rice, noodles, and bao. Basic stuff only.
Very carb heavy though?
I think because there was so much of activity, there was the
Yeah.
metabolism of everyone so high
Yeah.
that it never really
Yeah.
like counted as like, you know, carbs are like overloading or that there's a blood sugar level spike or something. But when my parents came to visit me in the 6th or 7th month when I was in China after my leg got fixed, they were like in tears crying that हमारा बच्चा टकला हो गया है, living as a monk, sadhu zindagi, you know, all of that happened. I was like, Mom, Dad, please relax. You know, this is what my life path is. This is what I've chosen. You all can't like, you know, get all of this in middle. They were like, you don't even get to eat good nutritious food. I was like, in the temple is different obviously because, you know, they're not part of the monastery, so they can't come and eat with us monks.
Right,
So they don't know like, you know, what I'm eating and stuff. So I told them, I had to tell them. But even they had a little difficult time because they don't speak the language, and when they were touring around China after meeting me, and they didn't get good vegetarian food. But obviously when you have a person who speaks Mandarin, you get a lot of vegetarian food, like really, really delicious food. China is actually a nice cultural place. They're very, very protective and conservative about it. Hence, they also have their own different, you know, like they have their own Google, they have their own YouTube, they have their own Twitter. They have so much of their own because they feel like, you know, we are like a different culture altogether. Why should we follow some
And
other
then
culture?
WeChat, is it still?
WeChat is like WhatsApp, yeah,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
WeChat's been there since so many. I mean, I was
Yeah.
doing scan pay, online pay in 2014 when I went
Oh,
to China.
wow,
So
okay.
it's like many years back. So I feel like what they do on the pro side, I really like that. Obviously, it has certain other political cons to it that I don't want to get into. But yeah, I think like it's amazing. Like, you know, China really focuses on culture a lot, and India is like the oldest cultural civilization in the world. I wish, you know, we focus more on that. We do, and you know, thanks to all, you know, Sanatan Dharma re-rising, and you know, it's spreading all over, you know, through different mediums. There are such amazing content creators. My guru's also like, you know, been trying to find mediums to spread it. Bhavesh ji and, you know, Sai Parveen ma'am. So everybody is doing their bit to revive this and spread this.
Bhavesh ji as in Bhavesh Bhimanathan.
Yeah, he's my teacher.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
He's been on Buzz by the Bay
Oh, yeah,
as
he
well.
has? Oh,
Yes,
wow,
he has.
nice.
So you are quite a sinophile.
Yeah.
I used to be. I mean, I haven't been back in so many years,
Yeah.
but you know, like you said, politically it's a whole different ball game.
Of course.
We don't want to get into that. But did it ever affect, you know, your stay at the Shaolin Temple? Because India-China relations are not always harmonious, not always
Right.
great. You know, so did that play any part in your stay over there, or the monks are beyond that and above?
We are beyond that, and there is not much awareness and communication of what's happening on the you know, global front when it comes to these political affairs. Everybody is just living in oneness. So we have this term called oneness. Why oneness? Because we all have the same mission. And hence, you know, the reason why we are also bald is to be part of one community. And also not to get distracted. We don't have mirrors in our washrooms or in our room, and not to waste time and see yourself, because I feel like
No vanity.
yeah, no vanity, because there's like, this is just superficiality, because there are 3 to 4 layers within us. So, you know, this is like the first layer. So we don't operate from the first layer. We always operate from the last layer, which again comes to compassion and empathy. That's where the language of your spirit, your soul comes.
The Anandamaya Kosha, as you say in Vedanta.
Yes, Anand Kosha, exactly. Yeah, I've been studying all of this, so I'm very happy that, you know, somebody is also sharing this.
The 5 koshas that we have,
5
the
koshas,
Panchakosh.
Panchakosh, yes,
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So very similar, and yeah, I think it's amazing how Shaolin really transformed me and changed the pathway of my life, and yeah.
So there was a major shift in you, obviously, physically, mentally, right? I mean, you must have seen a great mental shift in terms of anger management, you know, controlling one's needs and desires.
Right.
Is that, I mean, and you feel that has stayed with you? Like in Vedanta, there are those 6, we have the 6 vices, right? The Kama, desire, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, and Matsarya.
Matsarya, yeah.
So is there like a similar focus there in terms of like how these hinder your spiritual progress?
Yes, it definitely is. These are very correlated. Like I said, the whole Shaolin philosophy is very much derived from the branch of the Indian spiritual and the scripture practice of it. We definitely learn how to control these vices, like you mentioned. But again, we don't keep on we don't keep on like hammering it so much, because once it's become an innate part of your lifestyle, it just exists within you. It exists in every cell inside your body. Hence, it's just there. It's like, you are so fulfilled and you've reached the state of Satchit Anand.
Satchit Anand, of course.
So once you've reached that stage, all these 6 vices are already like, gone. It's not suppressed because there is no way of it to come back. So it's all about your choices and the lifestyle you want to cultivate for yourself.
So do you think you've reached that state of Satchit Anand or existence, consciousness, bliss, as we say?
I'm trying, Bhavishji, sorry, but I'm trying.
Trying.
No. I definitely, I'm very plateaued in life.
Plateau.
I'm very plateaued in life.
You're very young and you feel you've
I feel I'm very plateaued because, I just feel like a mountain. Like I just feel like, I don't get esteemed. I don't get pushed or esteemed about anything by anyone or anything. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the most perfect person, but I do have my ups and downs. But even in that ups and downs, I know how to bring myself back in my center. That's what we call the bringing your X and Y axis and finding your body's equilibrium.
Right.
Hence, I think I live in a lot of awareness. That's why I'm very plateaued.
You live in a lot of awareness. And that has come to you largely because of your Shaolin.
Of course, that's the base for sure.
The base of it.
And now obviously with the Indian practice, everything is, it's just like blooming. Yeah, it's just blooming nicely.
Just a couple of questions on your part. You also you're getting into films as well, right?
Oh, yes, that is the plan. I want to use every medium where I can share what I have learned and what I have experienced with Shaolin and Jackie Chan team and now everything that's coming. So yeah, Bollywood film. I would love to get into it, and I am proactively getting into it. I was called when I moved back to India. I was called by a lot of people to design action and direct action. Then I realized I'm being on set, I'm doing all of this, making other actors look so good and this and that. I'm like, this is not what I want to spend my time doing. Like, how am I reaching out to people? How am I reaching out to every Indian where I want to?
Yeah.
So rather, being in the back, rather come in the front and do this in a very organized and a structured manner by sticking to your core. Like, Master Bruce Lee did, like Jackie Chan did, Jet Li did. So I don't think we have that approach, and I hope I can bring that approach and give it a new way of,
Do you want to make a Bollywood kung fu type of movie, or what exactly?
No, not like a kung fu type of a movie. I mean, we have actors like Vidyut Jamwal and Tiger who've done like amazing action stuff, which is not very typical Chinese action or anything as such, but more of just how you give messages through your part of whether it's your action, whether it's just your part of as a character, whatever it is. So whether it's action, whether it's about a period drama, whatever it is, I'm more inclined into that kind of stuff. So I'm getting into that stream.
So are we going to see you in a Bollywood film soon?
Very soon, yeah.
Really? Any more?
I can't speak anything about it. Anything, I can't speak much about it. But things are going that way. But just staying and sticking to my core and my my purpose. Yeah.
How many hours a day do you meditate?
Right now, I don't meditate more than like 1 hour. I try to catch up like 30 minutes in the morning and 30 in the evening, or I'll probably just go at 1 hour. But in Shaolin, of course, we were practicing meditation for like 1.5 to 2 hours continuously without any breaks. So there was like a proper meditation routine and ceremonial practice that we used to do with all the scholar monks, because scholar monks are like, so like, how you say like, really high babas and sadhus. So that's how the scholar monks are. So we got to learn from them and see them with their lifestyle. And it is so minimal and, like just practically with no words you get to learn. So, how we have a saying in Chinese, which I've translated into English, chanting with no words, music with no sound.
So, chanting with no words, music with no sound. Do you think you'd ever want to become a scholar or monk?
I don't know. I did get an opportunity to become a scholar monk because there are certain exams that you're supposed to give. I reached that stage where I'm eligible to apply to become a scholar monk. I was at least there, but honestly, I have chosen the path of not being a scholar monk very consciously, but sticking to what I'm doing right now.
So your life there must have been very austere, right? Like a lot of tapasya in that sense.
Definitely.
No belongings and things like that.
Yes, definitely.
Not allowed to keep belongings?
There were times where we were allowed to do it because they weren't too extremely hard. It was not like a military camp or something. But sometimes free will is just given to you or made you realize that you have free will, you do whatever you want to do, but you are so already disciplined and organized from your lifestyle, like we spoke about the innate part of your being. It is just there that you are just that. But yeah, when you're doing training, masters are very strict. They hit you, they punish you.
They hit you. Yeah,
to make you better, to make you progress you better. They don't hit you to make you cry. They're not your enemies. They do it with the angle of, you get better. And again, it's Asia, it's China, Indian, we all have this. And I think hitting is nothing which is bad. They're not brutally, literally hitting someone. No? It's more of like, making you come back to your awareness.
Endurance and patience are big very important qualities, right?
Yes.
In the Shaolin school. Because I was reading some nice proverbs, that endurance is a sign of inner strength. They believe there is a strong belief in that.
Right. So, so endurance and enduring, comes to obviously Shaolin is there definitely. But I watched this Japanese anime. It's called Naruto, and Dragon Ball Z. But Naruto is more of my inclination. So a true warrior, a true ninja is somebody who endures, and it's about not enduring pain. It's about enduring being consistent to your purpose. So endurance definitely comes in a physical way where you develop endurance, your stamina, etc. But endurance also comes on how long can you be consistent with this practice.
How long without quitting.
Yes.
Absolutely. And another nice proverb I read was patience and perseverance can overcome mountains and seas.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's very true.
So lastly, Harsh, can you leave the youth? There's so much mental illness these days, mental disturbances. From your teachings, on Shaolin, any word of advice to the youth? You don't have to be a monk to practice, but any regular person can practice.
Of course. So one of the major things at the Shaolin Temple, one of the things also we do it in our school over here at Core Club Shaolin Temple, is mental health training. It's called the warrior mentality. It's called the mental health warrior course that we have, where people are facing adversities in the sense of combating stress, anxiety, whether it can be bullying in school and colleges, whether it can be any kind of stress at home or wherever it is, and how that approach needs to be taken. First comes about it being accepted that you're going through this. Once you become aware and accept it, then that is the first step towards you actually addressing it. And then the second step is obviously you can seek help wherever you want. But I would say in Shaolin philosophy, if you really, really want to look into the mental part of, how to take care of it, start with just doing your breathing.
Breathwork.
Focus on your breath, everything will come. Obviously, if you have somebody you can talk to, you can share with, because it will obviously make things lighter. Because not everybody is a monk, like you mentioned. So I think everyone should feel very free to share with somebody who they're comfortable with, who they love, who actually understands them. And please start focusing on your breath. Breath is the key instrument of your livelihood.
So simple pranayam would also help?
Any kind of pranayam, anulom vilom, kapal bhati, these all breath work, the qigong, tai chi, like whatever you do, whatever breath work you want to do, you do. But try to just come to your breath. Because once you focus on your breath, everything stems from the breath. Your emotions, your reactions, anything that can trigger you can be controlled by the tool of breath.
The pranamaya kosha.
Pranamaya kosha.
Air sheath. Yes. Okay. Beautiful advice.
But rest, we have our school, Shaolin school, our core club. People can come and train there. There are very beautiful yoga teachers across our country, and we are doing a bit there. Everybody is doing their bit, and I feel like everybody should stay mentally and physically active and happy in life. And I'm working towards making my mission, which is making India the fittest nation in the world.
Superb mission.
Yeah, that's all.
Look forward to you achieving that. Thank you so much for joining us. Shishya ni.
Thank you so much. Hari Om.
Hari Om.